following show is a paid program.
Hey family, how you doing today? It is voting day. Today is voting day, November the 3rd. Today we'll be talking about the state of the Black America with my friend Judson Robinson, President and CEO of Houston Area Urban League. Hello, my friend.
Cam Hill, how you doing, my brother?
Man, I am so excited about today.
Me too, man. Me too. This is the day.
This is the day. We got to show up. If we don't show up, we've been talking about it. We've been
That's it. We've been waiting on this day. It is here. So now it's in our hands.
It's in our hands. I just looked up and looked at statistics. Over 1 million people in Harris County and over 127,000 people in Fort Bend County have not voted.
My goodness. My goodness. Well, I think Fort Bend's going to turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the second highest voting to date so far in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming.
It's coming.
They're going to get there. I remember, back when I was on city council, that was the box.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Bend County. I mean, that's what put us over. Very tight election. Back when I ran for office, in a runoff, had 8 opponents originally. Anyway. Yeah, so don't worry about Fort Bend. They got us. They'll come through.
Absolutely. I do want to say I am happy about Harris County because they have 1.4 million have already voted in early voting.
Yeah.
That's the positive.
That's outstanding. I was talking to staff members that are out at polls this morning, and they were saying it was kind of light. And I said, well, that's because most people have already voted.
Yeah.
We got a huge number of people that have already gone to the polls and voted. So, thanks to all the locations, thanks to drive-through voting, we've really kind of thought creatively outside the box to make it as easy as possible for people to vote. And people were excited. So, I think it's paying off.
Absolutely. Just want to do one more statistics. Right now, it is over 800 voting locations in Harris County and 84 locations in Fort Bend County. So there's no excuses. Somebody's open.
No excuse.
That's
and
it.
You still have the drive-through voting too.
Yeah.
So you can do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one location, but still.
Right.
If you need to get in your car, you can get in your car.
Absolutely. Let's go back a little bit on you, Judson. We talked a little bit earlier, and you've been on the show before with me. But I wanted to reiterate and really celebrate your family as well as yourself. How did you get into politics in Houston? And let's talk about the legacy of politics in your family.
Wow. You and I talked about the show a little bit before we started, and you said you wanted to talk a little bit more about our role in Houston in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And as I began to think about that, I began to think about the fact that, it's been 50 years that the Robinsons have been involved in Houston politics. My dad ran for office in the late 60s, was elected in 69, 70. So, when you do the math, this is 2020. That's 50 years. And, it is something to kind of pause and be proud of. I'm thankful that we had a start in Houston that allowed us to not only excel as a family in terms of our ability to make a contribution, but also for all the other people that saw Judson Robinson Jr. get elected and realized that it was possible, that there was a potential that they too could run for a public office and the voters would give them a shot to be successful and to change history as we know it. So, yeah, it's. I'm glad you brought that up, my brother. We're so busy at the Urban League doing so many great things, and certainly, focusing on today and all the build up that we went into making today something that I think we're going to have, again, record turnout, and I think the people at the end of the day will be glad they went and voted.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, and I wanted to commemorate and also celebrate your father for breaking that ceiling for all of us. Had he not done that on city council, we don't know how long it would have been, and I know it was a struggle. I know it was not easy at that time because of racism as it is, and racism is today. So we still are battling that 50 plus years later on that. And you then went ahead and ran for city council.
That's right. Yeah, so as mentioned, my dad was the first black on city council since Reconstruction. And so, Reconstruction, you're talking the late 1800s when the last African American actually served on city council. So it was a huge event for him to be elected. And remember, people, back in the day, all of the seats were citywide seats, so you didn't have districts like you have today. So for you to be elected, you had to be elected by the entire city, although you may have represented only a district, A, B, C, or D. I think back in those days. But there was 5 at large when he was a single member district council member initially. But again, you had to be elected by the city overall. So it was, even though you again represented a district, which I think there were 5 of them. So, you still had to be elected by the entire city. And so, over a period of time, we fought for single member districts, were successful in getting that accomplished. And then he served about 20 years. And my mother, upon my father's passing, my mother served for a year to finish up his term. And then I ran for that seat against 7 opponents. And went into a runoff and the whole bit. Matter of fact, Cam, that was the first time that Sylvester Turner ran for public office as a city councilor, and during that city council race, he ran for mayor, and he lost that election to Bob Lanier.
And I'm glad you brought that up. The reason I like to talk about ceilings is because of this year. Many people, I had some ladies on yesterday, his Latina. Dr. Jennifer Cantu and Corman Turner, when they win their race, they would be the first in their races also. Not only the female part, but as African American and Latina, Hispanic. So just think all these years later, 50 plus years later, still talking about first.
That's right. I think at the time they had one woman, Eleanor Tinsley, who was the first female, I think, elected to city council, and then one Hispanic, Ben Reyes, who was the first Hispanic elected to city council. So, a lot of history has happened just in the last 50 years. But it's important that we celebrate that we talk about it, that we remember that just the other day, just 50 years ago, we didn't have anyone. When my dad got to City Hall, there was one black employee. One, and he was a janitor. So, when you think about all the people who've had careers at the city now, thanks in part to the leadership, making sure that civil rights and bigotry civil rights was increased and bigotry was reduced. But to make sure that someone was there fighting so that employees, citizens, taxpayers could work for the city of Houston was something that we just now take for granted.
Right.
And it wasn't always that way.
Absolutely. And it's only been 50 years.
That's correct.
And I wanted to say that about that. Now people are standing there, and now we have to think of why vote.
Yeah, and I think that we owe a debt of gratitude, to the people that went before us.
Yeah.
It's really important that we, Barack Obama said something the other day in talking about elections. And he just reminded people that, it's not an overnight success. Success is an election after an election after an election. It's important that you have, not only a place like you do that cares about everyone in the country, but it's also important that you have senators that care. that you have commissioners that you have congresspeople that you have judges that care, because, just because you elect one person, things don't magically change because of that one person being elected. People say, well, why didn't Obama have more success? We got the Affordable Care Act, but there were so many things that were not passed. Well, yes, Congress may have been mostly Democratic, but the Senate was not. And Congress recommends bills and presents them up to the Senate to be passed. But if the Senate is not on your team, they're not supportive of what the Congress says, then guess what? It doesn't move forward in most cases. So presidents are left with, the very limited powers of executive orders. And you can't legislate your entire agenda in legislative and executive order. So, having people understand the importance of each election, so that, I think we had a ruling just yesterday, Cam, where there was a potential that all of the votes that were done in the drive-through process, over 170,000, I think the number was, could have potentially been thrown out, just not counted. But thanks to the fact that we have an appeals court, and thanks to the fact that we have judges that could be fair, I'm not saying they're all Democrats or all Republicans, but certainly, somebody had to vote those people in so that fairness would rule the day. So you have to vote for people that reflect your interests.
And that's what I love about you as you talk and you talk about things. When you were in office, you spoke very highly and really tried to push community development, the community, and develop that community.
Well, it's an important thing to do, because if people don't have quality access to schools and to libraries, and making sure that you have adequate safety with fire departments and quality roads, you have to create an environment in which the business people can look at a community and say, okay, the people are being well educated. There's safe streets, there's parks, there's the kind of community a person might want to live in. So therefore, we'll put a business into that community. Therefore, there'll be jobs for the young people to work. It really all works kind of hand in hand. And we have to remember that community development oftentimes means economic development. It means people development. It means a city's tax base increases. So we're all in this together. And I thought it was just really important when I chaired the committee that we focused on those neglected areas that needed the infrastructure, needed the support. Before the pandemic, downtown was a great place to live and to be, and it still is to a degree. But the pandemic has certainly had an impact on our downtown economy. When I came to the city council in 1990-91, downtown was not a major focus of the administration, and so we worked hard to create, the kind of improvements that we've seen in Midtown. But it took a lot of creative ingenuity to come up with ways in which we could create the pathways to where you can have investment again in downtown Houston. It was not easy, but it took a lot of people, rowing the boat in the same direction. So, we've turned that tax base around now. So it's become a vibrant place for many people to live, to work, and to play. So again, community development, you're right. You've got to have it. And you've got to have people that come in that believe in the value of other people.
Absolutely. I love that. Also, the fact that I like the way you always reiterate and let people know every vote counts. Many people say, oh, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't count here, but every single vote counts.
Right. Elections are closer and closer, as you know, Kim.
Yes.
The margins of victory are ever smaller than they were in years gone by. And that's why we talk about voter suppression and the types of laws that might discourage voters. When we see people riding around, in pickup trucks with, flags flying off the back of them through your neighborhood, it sends a message. So, in order again for your rights to be protected, for your beliefs to be protected, you have to be courageous as well. You have to get out there and vote. And you can't, I was having this discussion with colleagues as well as my wife this morning. You can't just say, well, I voted, so now I can shut it down. Everything is, I've done my part. Hey, call your friends, call your family. Have they been to the poll? Do they need a ride to the poll? Do they know the process of voting? I took a lady to the polls the other day. She was disabled, so that was the primary reason for me to drive her over there. But guess what? When she got there, I realized she probably hadn't voted in the last 20 years, which means the last time she voted, they had the old-fashioned punch card system, right? So she was very unfamiliar, very uncomfortable with spinning the dial on the wheel, with pressing the enter key, with how to cast your ballot. So we can't assume, that people know how to vote. We've all heard these commercials about make a plan to vote, get a ballot and practice on the ballot, take the ballot into the polling location, have the phone numbers to call, harrisvotes.org, go to the website. I mean, it's not as simple as one might think it is.
Right.
And for those who have been disenfranchised for whatever reasons, or however long they have been, I was shocked of the difficulty this individual had. This young lady was from the McKinney Homes. She was born and raised in McKinney Homes, as were her parents. She had limited education. It was, you just assume that everyone knows how to do the same things you and I do. And you can't make that assumption. And that one vote could be the vote that makes a difference in a very close election.
Absolutely. The other thing I was and I'm glad you mentioned about being surprised. I was so surprised with this election. Many people had not voted before. Many of our stars and celebrities had admitted that this would be their first time in voting. What's so pivotal about this election, do you think, that people are just saying, you know what, we've got to do something?
Well, I think the differences between people and their beliefs have been on display in a fashion unlike we've ever seen before. I think there was a time when there may have been policies that were put in place that seemed so sublime that you really didn't even realize that those policies were actually destroying your neighborhood or jeopardizing your future. But I think people today understand the language when we hear the dog whistles of we're gonna beat them. It's us versus them. Everything is about them and us. And so I think people began to wonder, well, who's saying that, and who seems to be the people that rally to their call when they talk about us versus them. And I think that people really began to understand that the parties have become a party of them and us. And certainly I think people want to see unity again. I think that Black people in particular have been very aware of the impacts of poverty, poor education, police discrimination and brutality, of the lack of infrastructure and community development now. And I understand that when they talk about them and us, we're now saying that you're talking about a group of people that, are less important than the us, those are them, And so I think that has really awakened a lot of people. And the fact that our celebrities and our athletes are getting involved, even if some of them are kind of new to this and perhaps making some wrong decisions, and I'll let that remain nameless. But,
right.
But certainly, just the fact that people are realizing what an important role politics plays in our daily lives, I think that's a good thing. Like you mentioned, records are being shattered all over the country in terms of participation and involvement. Hispanics, I think, are the largest single minority now in the country. They make up, I think, some 32 million Hispanics have already voted, right? That's incredible. Some 30 million African Americans have also cast an early vote. So, that's really a statement about, the people that make up our country now and what are their interests and what are their needs.
Absolutely. We'll take a break right now. We'll be right back. with Judson Robinson.
Be right back to the Cam Hill Show after these messages.
Ron Carter Cadillac, Houston's only Cadillac to your door dealer, delivers test drives to your home or office, like the new 2020 XT4 Luxury Collection, only $299 a month. The new 2020 XT5 Premium Luxury Collection, $399 a month. Or the first ever 2020 XT6 Premium Luxury Collection, just $499 a month. All for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Or purchase and choose 0% APR for 60 months plus $2,000 bonus cash with no payments until March 2021. Visit RonCarterCadillac.com.
I'm a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote by mail-in ballot.
I'm a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote safely in person.
I'm a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote early.
I am a Texas voter.
And I plan to vote safely in person. In this coming election, voters aged 50 plus
will make all the difference.
Will make the difference.
Will make the difference. Will make the difference.
Will make the difference in elections across the state.
So make a plan now.
So you can vote however you choose.
It doesn't matter
where you vote,
how you vote, or who you vote for.
What matters.
What matters.
What matters.
What matters is that you have a plan to vote.
For more information,
head to
aarp.org/tx.
vote.
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 Đi bầu cử.
और वोट करना मत भूलिएगा.
Vote.
वोट दें.
Vote.
唔該去投票。
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Hello again, Stafford. We are extremely proud of the diverse community we have in Stafford.
We need you to get out and vote for Cecil Willis.
Have you been injured in an 18-wheeler accident, truck accident, car accident? Was someone texting and ran into the back of you, not paying attention? It doesn't matter what it is. Give me a call, Attorney Willie Powles. We'll fix it today. The number is 281-881-2457. Again, that number is 281-881-2457. We'll fix it today. Call Attorney Willie Powles.
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee will fight the Republican agenda to stop the Affordable Care Act, a lifeline to millions of our friends and family. The stress on our healthcare system is overwhelming. The Congresswoman stands with our first responders. While her opponents were missing in action, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee responded by going to the front lines and putting your lives first, not hiding from the raging pandemic that has taken countless lives. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee understands that people need a hand, not a handout. That's why she facilitated over 218,000 free COVID-19 testings and helped families facing evictions. No one works any harder than Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Commitment, integrity, and dependability. These are the qualities of a leader. This is why we need to send Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee back to Washington. Let's get the right train on the track.
This is Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and I approve this message. Get out and vote for Sheila Jackson Lee.
Together, we have the power to change Donald Trump's Washington, but we need a different kind of senator. MJ Hagar has the courage to speak the truth. Trump is a racist who uses racist attacks to try and divide us. MJ is a decorated combat veteran, a working mom who will take on the big drug companies to lower costs. a leader who will work alongside Black Texans to make sure we recover from the coronavirus pandemic and end systemic racism. MJ doesn't run from battles. She'll be in them with us.
And now back to the Cam Hill Show.
Hey, thank you so much for coming back, Judson Robinson. Let's talk, Talk a little bit about the Houston Area Urban League. He's president and CEO. Let's talk about that.
Wow. Well, thank you, Cam. The Houston Area Urban League is near and dear to my heart. As you guys know, I've been with the agency now almost 13 years, and it has just been a joy to go to work every day and get a chance to make a difference in the lives of people. You know, it's a very unique structure in that the Urban League is one of about 90 organizations like us, what we call affiliates throughout the country. And we're all here to try to make sure that people have access to a good job, that they have access to quality education, that we advocate for them to get fair and affordable housing, that we can help them start a small business that might one day grow and hire several people that will be in a position to take care of themselves and their families. That we advocate for quality of health, knowing that we ought to be sure to eat right, to take care of ourselves, but also demand that we have quality stores in our neighborhoods for us to do our shopping. So the agency, to me, kind of works in all of the main areas of a successful life. You have to be educated. You have to be healthy. You have to have a job. You have to have a home. And Lord willing, you might even be able to start a business. So to be able to go through that entire journey with our clients is a tremendous benefit to the community. And just it's a pleasure to work in that space every day.
I tell you what I love about it. It's such a pivotal point that you've made of everything that you all do. You really encompass the whole person.
Yeah, and that's important. You know, we have programs where people might come in for a job, and then they find out, oh, you can also help me acquire my first home. Or they might come in for an educational program, and then learn that, oh, my parents can get a better position at their company through some training that we might provide. So it's it's one of those type organizations that is there to support the community and to also just create a degree of awareness that didn't exist before. So trying to make sure that people understand what the Urban League does and the role that we can play at basically no charge to them is an important asset that we want to ensure that people are aware of. So we appreciate the exposure given on today's show and just the opportunity to talk a little bit about our work because that's how traditionally we have done it. It's been kind of a word of mouth organization where generation after generation of people came and got their first job at the Urban League, or they were able to take their training classes and acquire their first home at the Urban League, or their kids received free books and instruction so that they're in a better position to be promoted to the next grade level. All benefits that are granted here at the Urban League, at no charge to the public. And again, focused on our community to make sure that African Americans and other minorities have access to these things at no charge so that they're in a position to one day better fend for themselves and better fend for their families.
I'm so glad about that. We say no charge, so it's free.
As it's getting harder and harder to say that too, Cam, I must admit. But we're in a very blessed city. We have a lot of supporters like yourself that will help us to ensure that I'm in a position to offer someone that free class. We, for example, have a training class for construction. That class, once you go through the multiple weeks of the class and you get your certification and you get your tool belt and you get your steel toe shoes and your tool, all that stuff, that's over $1,000, right? That if you'll just sign up and get involved in that class, there won't be any charge sheet. You got to devote a little bit of your time and energy and attention to it. But at the end of the day, we're going to help you not only get the certification, but we're going to make sure that you get a job, that you get placed. So we have a partnership with all these employers that are, waiting for you to graduate from the course so that we can put you to work. And again, the goal is to have stronger communities, and we do that by making sure that the individuals that come from those communities are as well equipped as possible to meet the demands and needs of their families.
And the reason I wanted to also bring you on, because of the Urban League and all that you guys do, it's 40 million plus people unemployed since the pandemic, okay?
Right.
And in doing so, those people are looking for something and really don't realize that it's there at no charge. It's free for them to take on these things that you all have so many classes, so many resources that are available for people right now if they would just sign up.
And the beauty of it is that the Urban League is one of several organizations in Houston that is mission to do this type of work.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is another type of class that you might need, if I don't offer it, chances are we know who might. We're in a position to try to help people move forward. And oftentimes, thanks to the United Way, they have a program whereby select agencies work together to help people move forward. So if you're a member of the United Way, in one of those agencies that's all connected and united to ensure that people do better, then chances are we can find a place for you to move forward, to excel, to meet your objectives in life. Some courses, there might be a small charge, but for the majority, it's supporters here in Houston that will give us a donation that we're able to put to work. As I mentioned, that $1,000 that it costs for that class, someone put that $1,000 up for you.
Right.
So that again, you and your community will be stronger and in a position to take care of you and your family. And that's worth the $1,000 investment that the guy that works at Shell Oil or the Maytag repair person, they want to make sure that you can buy that washing machine, right? So at some point, you don't have to buy it, but you got to get it fixed.
Right.
You can't do either of those unless you have a job, right?
Right.
So,
right.
We're all in this together, Cam, really are.
Absolutely. It's so many resources out there, and that's why I was so adamant about you coming on, because you guys have so many nationally. It's not just here in Houston, but it's a national.
That's correct. Yeah, there's some 90 affiliates throughout the country. So in any major city and then even some of the smaller ones you go to, there's this network of urban leagues, all pretty much mission to do the same type of work that I'm doing here in Houston, to make sure that, again, you can get the job, that you can acquire the home, that you can start the business. The entrepreneurship center that we have here at the Urban League, again, no charge, sends you through all of the various stages of a small business startup, helping to make sure that at some point you're in a position to sign on with the city of Houston or the Port of Houston or some other entity that grants a lot of small business contracts, where there is a degree of set aside that's intended to go to these small minority firms. We help get you prepared for that. We help you to build a business plan. We help you to make sure you've got a strong marketing plan, that you understand the importance of finance, and you are aligned with a CPA. We have the very unfortunate situation, and it's still taking place today, where so many small businesses just weren't ready for the pandemic. They didn't have, in many cases, their financial house together. But we have a program that takes you through making sure that you and your CPA are filing all the right forms and all the right times with the IRS. So when the next pandemic rolls around, there's a PPP program, payroll protection program that's available, or the EIDL for small businesses, that you qualify. So many small businesses in our community did not qualify because they weren't ready. So the Urban League is an organization that's here to help make you get ready. Again, our favorite word, at no charge.
Absolutely. What would you like to leave with the viewers at this point?
Well, I'd like to just remind them of the great sacrifice and journey that people have made on behalf of us all, of you and I. You know, there was a time in our history when we didn't have nearly the amount of opportunity that we have today. And so we have to honor that by not only taking advantage of the opportunities that, you know, my father and grandfather and yours all sacrificed so that we could have, but we have an obligation to those that follow us. As I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion, Pam, you know, our past president, Barack Obama, said, you know, it's not one election, it's all the elections that make the difference. So we're not going to have an overnight change in terms of how our world works just by you voting today. You've got to vote in the next election, and the one after that, and the one after that, voting for people that represent your interests. Because the process of change is not overnight. We're all here to try to make a difference while we're here and to make it better, not for ourselves only, but for our children and all the generations that follow. We have strong, proud bloodlines that we need to honor by making sure that we do our part so the next generation's in a position to do their part for their generations to follow.
Absolutely. How would people get in touch with the Urban League, and what's the number?
I encourage you to visit the website at www.haul.org or call us. We're here, 713-393-8700. 713-393-8700.
I appreciate you, my friend. I'm trying to get you out of here because I know the day is busy for you. You've got to get people out to vote. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's 800 locations, voting locations in Harris County and 84 in Fort Bend County. There is no excuse. Today is the day.
That's right. So mask up.
There you go. There you go.
Get out there and vote.
There you go. I appreciate you so much. See you on the trail. Take care, my friend. God bless. On tomorrow, we will have Trudy Lynn, 12:30 to 1:30. Talk to you then. Bye.